All right, my love. So now we're going to talk about the second world, which is the emotional world. So just beyond the physical, there's the realm often characterized by its associations with emotions and desires. This is the second world where it's like, duh, Jade, emotions. This world influences our feelings, and it can be thought of as astral or emotional plane. Now I'm going to get into that because there's a lot of confusion on what the astral plane is. You'll see a lot of people out there talking about the astral plane, but Heindel describes it differently, and honestly, it's the clearest that I can tell you. So the emotional energies flow and interact, shaping our relationships and often our physical reality through our desires and our fears and our dreams. So again, I had to stop and do some research for this because for a long while I was confused about what's the difference between a couple of things. I thought that the reflecting ether and the astral plane were the same thing, and I got these confused for a long time. It seems like the reflecting ether and the astral plane are the same, and how does this tie in with emotion? So let's get going on that. So I have to wait for my teleprompter. I'm going to get this figured out. I promise you guys. Thank you for staying with me. I got to find like the perfect speed here because the writing that I did, I think is it's a little wordy, isn't it? But that does sound like me. All right, let's move forward. So understanding the astral realm. In many esoteric traditions, the astral realm or astral plane is primarily associated with the emotional life of beings. It's considered a bridge between the physical world and the higher spiritual realms. It's the emotions are the actual bridge, and it's characterized by its vibrancy and fluidity of its form. It's almost like it's the rainbow. The astral plane is where thoughts and emotions are not just internal experiences, but they can manifest and interact visibly. It's similar to physical objects in our material world, how they interact. Is that cool or what? So here's the emotional connection. The astral realm is closely tied to our emotions because it's where our desires and our fears and our fantasies and our other emotional energies take on this quasi-physical form. This is why it's often referred to in the context of the emotional world in spiritual frameworks. So emotions in the astral plane are more vivid and can manifest as tangible experiences or encounters. Did you hear what I just said? These emotions in the astral plane are vivid, and they can manifest here as actual encounters or emotional states of being. So if you're really scared you're going to get in a car accident, that's going to manifest here. That fear will manifest via the astral realm, that rainbow, and come here. So let's talk about the nature of the astral. This realm is mutable and highly influenced by our thoughts and our feelings of beings that inhabit or access it, making it dynamically responsive environment. Its substance is finer and more malleable than physical matter, allowing for instant manifestation of thought forms and emotional constructs. Like when you're thinking of something and you immediately look up and it's right there. Does that ever happen? It happens to me all the time. I'll be thinking of a number and I'll look up and it'll be right there. So now let's talk about the reflecting ether. So sometimes it's discussed in the context of theosophical or Rosicrucian cosmology as considered part of the etheric plane, which is closer to the physical world than the astral plane, right? The etheric plane we just talked about, including the reflecting ether, is often seen as this template or blueprint that directly influences physical reality but it does not necessarily engage with emotional dynamics of the astral plane. Does that make sense? So the emotions in the astral and the etheric are separate. They don't necessarily interact, but they do both affect what we have here. So then we have memory reflection. So the reflecting ether is thought to hold the imprints or memories of all that happens in the physical world. It acts like a cosmic mirror, storing images and events as patterns, as energetic patterns that can be assessed through certain heightened states of consciousness or spiritual practices. This aspect makes it a crucial medium for phenomena such as clairvoyance or prophetic visions, right? So now let's connect to the astral. So while the reflecting ether itself is not emotional, it can intersect with the astral in the sense that emotional experiences on the astral plane leave imprints in the etheric plane, right? We're repeating it, but we're saying it backwards to make sure we really got it. However, its primary function is more about reflection and memory rather than emotional experience. Does that make sense? No? Okay, well, let's clarify one more time because it's only been 6 minutes and we've gone over a lot of information already. So while both the astral realm and the reflecting ether deal with non-physical realities, their functions and their substances that are involved are distinct. So the astral realm focuses on emotional manifestations and a space where emotional and mental energies are externalized and interact. So astral is emotional, where reflecting acts as the cosmic storehouse for events and experiences. So reflecting, that's when you see a psychic and they're like, I see everything. And they say they're going to the astral, but they're not. They're going to the reflecting. And if they're dead set on going to the astral, then they're using their emotions, which kind of makes you wonder if they're having non-biased judgment in their readings, right? So in summary, the astral realm and the reflecting ether serve different purposes with the broader esoteric description of the universe. So the astral is more about live dynamics of emotional and mental energies, while the reflecting ether deals with the recording and accessing of past events and information. So we said the same thing like 6 times in a bunch of different ways, and I'm hoping that helps because it helps for me to say it a bunch of different ways. But now we want to talk about the reflecting plane and the reflecting ether because I actually had this question, so I figure we might as well use this time. What's the difference between the reflecting plane and the reflecting ether? Because I hear it called this. I hear those all this time, and I'm like, are they the same? Are they different? So what I got back was that they can be used interchangeably in esoteric literature, but they can also refer to subtly different concepts depending on the context and specific metaphysical framework being discussed. So you have to kind of use context clues to figure out which they're talking about, and it might just be the same thing depending on what you're reading. So let's go into definitions. So first, the reflecting ether. The reflecting ether is often described as one of the higher subdivisions of the etheric plane. So if you're writing a chart, it's a subdivision. In various esoteric traditions, including Theosophy and Rosicrucianism, it is considered the highest layer of the etheric plane, which itself is immediately adjacent to the physical plane and intermediately connected with it. Its function and primary role is to serve as a medium for the storage of transmission or events. So again, the reflecting ether, it's right here parallel with the physical, and it's like our storage system. And it's like the universal memory field that it holds all the imprints of that occurred in the whole world throughout time, right? And it's almost like, you know what they say on black holes, that the rim of the black hole is, they actually found information spinning around that black hole. Isn't that interesting? It's almost like that's where the reflecting ether is in spiritual terms. Could one make that assumption? For sure. So clairvoyants and mystics access this reflecting ether to view past events or gain spiritual insights. And the ether is a crucial practice. For things like remote viewing, it's crucial, or prophetic visions, or if you have a life review, or if you are doing psychometry, which is you touch an object and you can feel where it's been or who's had it. That's the reflecting ether that you would access. The reflecting plane is something completely different. The term, not completely, subtly different. The term reflecting plane is less commonly used, and it might not be strictly defined as the reflecting ether, but when it's used, it might refer to a conceptual layer of reality where reflection or mirroring of higher spiritual truths occur. So the reflecting plane is where the higher spiritual truths occur. So if you just want past human junk, you're going to the reflecting ether. And if you want higher spiritual truths, you're going to the reflecting plane. It could be considered this broader metaphysical concept that includes functions of the reflecting ether, but it also encompasses this additional aspect of spiritual reflection, such as mirroring of divine will, the laws of karma, if you want to go there, or the archetypal templates for existence. So now we have the philosophical aspect. Go ahead and pause it if you need that to sink in for a minute. I think it's really cool. So the reflecting plane might also be interpreted at a metaphorical or symbolic level where the duality of existence is contemplated and understood. That reflecting upon the nature of reality and self and the cosmos. So here's the differences and interrelations. So scope and specificity. Specificity? I can't talk now. The reflecting ether is a more specific term typically used to describe a particular function or layer within the broader esoteric cosmology related to memory and visualization of past events. So the reflecting plane, if distinguished from the ether, may refer to a broader, more philosophical aspect of reflection in the cosmos. Does that make sense? So the functionality. While the reflecting ether is specifically about the storage and retrieval of historical or temporal information, the reflecting plane might encompass a wider range of metaphysical reflection, including the interplay of cosmic forces and spiritual laws. So when you're in meditation and you are doing your focus work, you are trying to operate in the reflecting plane. So in practical terms, when discussing esoteric practices and spiritual sciences, it's important to clarify terms like reflecting ether and reflected plane. It's important that we start to use our language to really differentiate, because they are very different, right? They're completely different things. To be able to be like, we'll go there, it's like, we'll go where? And it's like when we have a destination in our heads of where we're going and what that looks like, it's easier to get there. It's like getting in your car and driving around and not know where you're going. You know, like you're just out looking for garage sales and you don't have an ad anywhere. You're just driving around for fun. But if you know where you're going, you might actually get somewhere. So reflecting plane, reflecting ether. That was a fun question. You guys have any questions? Write them down. Bring them to club with you. I look forward to seeing you there.